The crossplay beta for Modern Warfare is now officially here, and with it, all the players in the COD community, regardless of their platform of choice, can now jump onto the game and test it out. Of course, last weekend, only PS4 players got to experience the beta, so initially they might have a slight edge on you Xbox and PC guys jumping in completely fresh. However, by the end of this video, hopefully you newer players, or even some of you who played last weekend, can switch up your classes to a more dominant loadout consisting of the best weapons, equipment, and perks available in the game right now. Today, ladies and gentlemen, we are breaking down 4 of the most overpowered class setups here in Modern Warfare. But before we jump into all of that, if you guys are new here and you want to stay on top of everything going on in the world of Call of Duty, ranging from news to leaks to updates and everything else in between, feel free to subscribe with your post notifications turned on. That way you'll always know when I post a new video. And of course, if you enjoyed this one, let me know by dropping a like rating on it, as it does really help out the channel. And now let's get into some of the best and most overpowered class setups in Modern Warfare right now. So right away, we don't have a ton of options available at our disposal when it comes to weapon variety, additional perks, and all things of that nature. And being that this is a beta, it is going to be a bit more restricted all throughout the weekends, as obviously they don't want to give away all of the content that they have prepped for launch right now. But what we do have available can be utilized pretty effectively with the right class setups, especially when you break down the Gunsmith after your weapon level has been brought up, as most of the weapons we have anywhere between 20 and 30 attachments available once maxed out. So with that said, the ideal way to go about getting the most overpowered classes is to ensure that you have any and all attachments available on your weapon by leveling it up as much as you possibly can. So no, you're probably not going to have an insanely powerful setup after just 3 matches. But frankly, weapon leveling does go by pretty quick, so grind it out and you'll be on top of the lobby leaderboard in no time. Anyways, our first setup today is going to be the most rush-heavy and aggressive playstyle-oriented class, and as we move through the other setups today, you'll notice each one is directed towards a different kind of playstyle. So hopefully I've got something for everyone by the end of the video. As far as rushing goes in this game, at least during the first weekend of the beta, it seemed a lot tougher to do well and play aggressively thanks to the more camp-friendly options in the game right now. However, one setup in particular based around the MP5 I found to be pretty solid all around. Now the MP5 setup I have is built all around being as fast as possible when it comes to mobility, sprint out speed, and ADSing. Essentially what we've built here is a class that mimics having quick draw, stock, and high caliber in a sense. We've got the MP5 and the MP7 as our 2 weapons thanks to the overkill perk in the perk 1 spots. Now, without a doubt, this is my favorite setup to rock in the game right now. It is the most fast-paced, aggressive-based class that I've found, and I love it. Anyways, back to the setups themselves. On the MP5, it is all about speed. This is the Lightning McQueen setup, if you will. We've got lightweight barrel, it helps with the ADS in speed. We've got lightweight stock, that helps with aim walking movement speed or just strafing. I've got the vertical foregrip on there for the vertical recoil control. I think that is much more noticeable than the horizontal recoil, which honestly I find pretty easy to control. Then I've got the stippled pistol grip, which helps with sprint out and ADS speed. Then finally, I've got the 10mm auto ammunition, which increases the damage and, might I say, the difference between the 10mm ammo and the stock weapons damage is pretty noticeable. With 10mm on there, this thing melts, and like I said, it's built heavily around speed and mobility. Then as a secondary, I've got the MP7. Once again, this is based as an up-close and personal kind of setup, so this entire class complements a very aggressive playstyle. That said, on the MP7, I've got laser sight. Being that it is a secondary, I find myself swapping to it sometimes close range, and it's way easier to just start spraying from the hip in certain engagements. I've also got the lightweight stock, vertical foregrip, and the stippled pistol grip for the same reasons as before. Then I also have the frangible disabling weapon perk on there, which allows for bullets to slow down the enemy's movements, and it also disables their sprint when I shoot them in the legs, so that is pretty useful there. As I mentioned, I use the overkill perk in perk 1, and I should mention, just in the interest of time, all 4 of the overpowered setups today use the exact same perks and equipment, and really only the weapons are the different aspects of each. So the remaining setup in this class goes for all the classes as well. Perk 1, we've got overkill. Perk 2, we've got ghost, and in perk 3, we've got shrapnel. Ghost is kind of a crutch perk right now with the radar and the UAV spam, and with how rush heavy I play, I'd much rather have the enemies not knowing when I'm in their spawn. Then Shrapnel gives me an extra lethal, and it also causes explosive damage to delay health regen. So, coinciding with the fact that I like to use claymores, this perk seems extra effective if you ask me. Now, you might be asking, Zach, if you like to rush around, why do you choose a claymore? Well, honestly, I like to use the claymore simply because they can watch my back when I need help. Rather than relying on a teammate, I can have those placed behind me, and then when I go to move spots, I can just pick the claymore up and bring it with me, if I remember to do that. I'm not gonna lie, most of the time I have that intention, but I end up actually forgetting to do it. But hey, it's the thought that counts, right? Anyways, rounding out the class, I then also use a flash grenade. Honestly, this one comes down to personal preference, and I like to use the flash over the stun or anything else, but at the end of the day, that's really more so up to you. Next up, the second overpowered class here in MW is going to be another rush-heavy class, but this time it is going to be based more around assault rifles. So for this setup, I like to use the M4A1 and also the M13. On the M4, currently my go-to setup is the short barrel for faster movement and ADS speed, the operator reflex sight that is just my personal preference, the lightweight stock, same reason as before, the tactical grip on this one as I find myself tap firing here and there in those longer distance engagements, and that does offer a bit more range and control, and then here I also use the stippled pistol grip once again. The M4A1 is probably the best weapon in the game right now. It absolutely melts, especially when you hit headshots, so that's my setup for it there. And then on the M13, this AR honestly feels a bit more like an SMG AR hybrid in a sense, as it's definitely a lot weaker but also more mobile than most of the other ARs, but it can also be a laser beam if you end up hitting your shots. On this one, I like to use the muzzle brake for that added recoil control, the laser sight once again because it is functioning as my secondary, the aim op reflex, I really like the look of this reticle and the sight in general, the vertical foregrip, and then the stippled pistol grip as well. So typically with this setup as I'm playing, I'll use the M4 as much as I can simply because it is such a dominant weapon, but in those situations where I know it's going to be a bit more of a close range engagement, the M13 can come in handy. Moving on, the third overpowered setup we have here today is based a bit more around objective play, so jumping into the headquarters or onto a flag and slaying out while also supporting the OBJ. Once again, the primary here is going to be the M4A1 and the secondary is going to be the MP5. So you really get the two best weapons in the game with this setup, and for this one we're really just taking our setups from the M4 and the MP5 and throwing them together on one class. So the M4 is the short barrel, operator reflex sight, lightweight stock, vertical grip, and stippled grip, and the MP5 is the lightweight barrel, the lightweight stock, the vertical grip, the 10mm ammo, and the stippled grip as well. And for this one, I found myself using the M4 to pick off enemies who were a bit deeper in their spawn, like for instance on the A or the C flag, or those who were running into the HQ. And then I would swap to the MP5 when I was going to jump onto the B flag or rush into the HQ to allow for the CQC weapon in the class to dominate up close. Then finally, the last overpowered setup we have here today revolves around being a very heavy hitting class. So on this one, I'm just gonna say this is not rush friendly. This is a setup that excels when you are ADS'd and ready for a fight, and not really jumping around and sprinting around every single corner. For the primary on this setup, we have the AK47, and the secondary is going to be the M91 LMG. On the AK here, I rock the compensator for the recoil control. The AK does have quite a bit of kick, so that really helps out there. The operator reflex sight, once again personal preference. Heavy stock since I know I'm going to be ADSing a lot and that helps steady out the gun. The granulated pistol grip, which helps steadiness again. And then lastly, the vertical foregrip. So these attachments are all really based around accuracy because when you hit your shots with the AK, it absolutely shreds. Then the M91. This is a weapon that honestly I doubted and avoided using for quite some time, but I'm gonna be honest, this thing is ridiculously good. Admittedly, I don't have this setup maxed out yet because at level 1 I was shredding with it without any attachments on it at all. The key is that you have your ADS up and ready though, because it is not rush friendly whatsoever. That said though, as of now my go-to attachments have been the muzzle brake for the recoil control, the aim op reflex, the heavy stock, the vertical foregrip, and also the stippled grip too, all to help with the recoil, which honestly I feel like is pretty controllable if you simply just pull down on the stick when spraying. Seriously, I suggest giving the M91 a go because honestly, this thing's a sleeper. It is ridiculously good in the right situations. Anyways, there you guys have it. Those are 4 overpowered classes to use here in Modern Warfare. If you guys enjoyed the video or if it helped you out, let me know by dropping a like rating on it, as it would be much appreciated. And of course, if you are brand new here to the channel and you like what you see, feel free to subscribe with your post notifications turned on. That way you'll always know when I post a new video. As always, be sure to use code IMMORTAL to get a nice little discount on all G Fuel, Control Freak, and Respawn products. All of those links can be found down in the description below. And once again, thanks so much for tuning in. Until next time, take it easy, have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.